Okay, so the other day, my friend Tony comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, John, what do you think was the greatest decade to live in?" And I said, "Well, I think it was the 50s. He goes, "Why the 50s?" I said, "Well, because they came after the 40s, but they were before the 60s. And he looks at me and he goes, "John, don't be a wise guy." Well, see, he didn't give me a chance to explain. You see, the 40s were a tough time. I don't know if you know this, but there was a war going on then, and they called it the big one. My dad fought in it, and he said it was a war that built men. And he often said to me, "John, you should have joined up." I said, "Dad, what'd you want me to do? I was 3 years old." And he looked at me, and he said, "John, don't be a wise guy." So then there was the 60s. That was a strange time. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, there was a war going on then. And even my dad had a hard time getting his head wrapped around that one. So I tried to explain it to him. I said, "Dad, it's not a war. It's a socio-economic police action." And he looked at me and he goes, "John, don't be a wise guy." Okay, so that leaves the 50s. I don't know if you know this, but there was a war going on then, except that nobody would confirm it. But I didn't care. I was becoming a teenager, and there was a lot of important stuff going on. For instance, Elvis Presley with that slick back hairdo, that gave birth to a lot of men's hair products. And drag racing, well, that gave birth to the Auto Club. And the Mickey Mouse Club with Annette Funicello, well, that gave birth to a lot of fantasies with Mouseketeers. Oh, and drive-ins, well, that gave birth to a lot of births. Well, people often ask, "John, well, what do you think was the greatest contribution of all times?" And I think it was the 50s. Because the 50s gave us rock and roll. And that, my friend, gave me an opportunity to become a wise guy.